And now, AM 650 presents your source for leading-edge news and information on today's hottest products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Well, good evening and welcome to Experts on Call here on AM 650. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by Sean Lang, president of Interprovincial Roof Consultants. Nice to see you again, Sean.
Good to see you too, Sterling.
You've brought a guest, and I'll get you to introduce Ivan to our audience in a few minutes, but remind us about your company, Interprovincial Roof Consultants. You're located on the main drag in Cloverdale.
Yes, we are.
You've spent a lot of years in the business before becoming a consultant. We'll talk about what the process is involved there, but you were a boots-on-the-ground kind of guy in the roofing business for many, many years.
Yep, 16 years. Yeah, I started off doing menial labor for roofing contractors, shoveling gravel in the pile and loading the tar kettle and all that fun stuff, and worked my way up the ladder trying to get off the ground and onto the roof.
Right.
So it's a literal expression. Worked my way up the ladder and started applying the roof systems, and I spent many years doing that. And I found my home there for about 16 years until my body started telling me it was time to use my mind.
Right. Time to diversify a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, what better background, Sean, to bring to the consulting business than years and years in the trenches? You know every aspect of what it takes to put a roof on any kind of structure.
Well, absolutely. I mean, people that have come from the trades and go into consulting or inspecting basically have experienced all the issues, particularly if they spent a significant amount of time doing it, that could happen on any roofing job. So different weather conditions, different structural conditions when you take off a roof.
Yeah.
Different working conditions with your crews. Sometimes you have individuals that are difficult to deal with, and sometimes you have individuals that are easy to deal with. So all these factors come into play when you're making that transition into consulting, because now when I go and I look at a job and I'm looking at the roofers that are there, I know what kind of guys I'm dealing with.
Sure.
I know how to look for the guys that are going to be cheating. I can tell where they might be cheating because I've done it myself in the past.
Of course, yeah. Everybody cuts corners somewhere along the way.
So I'm not too proud to say it, but I was on that side.
Well,
so
sure.
it allows us an insight that others might not have. And it really becomes a benefit that I can provide to the clients.
So why did you become a consultant, Sean, rather than just starting your own roofing company and doing roofing your way?
I thought it was interesting to actually go up and do inspections.
Okay.
I found that, especially once I started doing it, I mean, I always thought an inspector coming onto the job with a clipboard and a pen looked like a pretty nice job, pretty sweet transition from getting dirty and working hard. But then when I actually listened to the inspector talking to the foreman and listened to the questions he was asking and the instructions he was giving, I thought there was a lot more intellectual ability being used, and I thought that's maybe where I want to go. So then when I actually went through a workers' comp claim because of some physical issues, I took the opportunity that was provided to me to go into inspecting. And when I started doing it, that's when I really started to enjoy what it was all about, because I was able to go from different roofing contractor to different roofing contractor, and that opened up a whole new world to me.
Now, I want to get a little industry jargon straight here, because you're talking about inspecting, but in fact, you're not an inspector, you're a roof observer.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between an inspector and an observer?
Not a whole lot. There's individuals that are called inspectors. They like to call themselves inspectors, and then there's roof observers. And basically, I'm a registered roof observer,
right,
which is a designation that's given out by the RCI Inc., which is the Roof Consultants Institute in the States. And because of that designation, I call myself a roof observer, because we go up and we observe the conditions and the actions that are happening on a roof system.
Right.
Other organizations use the term inspector, which Ivan will talk about shortly.
Okay.
And it's just another name for what we do. It's basically the same thing.
Well, we better get Ivan involved in the conversation. He's a very interesting-looking chap who's just dying to get involved. So, Sean, please introduce the Executive Director of the Roofing Contractors Association of British Columbia to our listeners.
This is Ivan Van Spronsen. I'm glad you came on the show. He's, as you said, the Executive Director of the RCABC. And has a lot to talk about in regards to the Roofing Contractors Association of British Columbia, who we are accepted inspectors for.
All right, Ivan, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Really glad to be here. Tell
us a little bit about you're the Executive Director of the Roofing Contractors Association, the RCA BC. What exactly does that organization do for people in BC?
Yeah, it's an interesting and complicated kind of an association, because we really have a lot of different directions that we work with simultaneously. So we see ourselves as being a real advocate for the public in terms of raising roofing standards and roofing performance, and helping protect consumers. Making sure they're getting the value for their dollar when they're putting roof systems together.
Right.
But it's much broader than that. We also, in terms to get to that holistic level, we've had to say, what does it take to, what are the components of making that happen? And the people that started the association, which was the first roofing contracting association in Canada back in 1958, really had this vision that there needed to be some separation in between contractors who were the hook and ladder type folks working at a very small with no real inclination towards quality or safety and all that. They wanted to find some differentiation between their firms, which they felt were better, and those other firms. So they began to band together and say, look, at what can we agree on as being what are really good roofing standards, what are really good ways that things can be done. And they started to see that we needed a baseline standard. So they began developing, competitors working together, but understanding that they needed to raise the level of the industry in order to differentiate.
And how long ago was this, when the industry itself began to wake up to the fact that there was a need for something like this?
Yeah, so like I said, it started in 1958.
Wow. Okay.
And really, there's other ones across the country, but that was the first. That was the first one. And I will say that in the mid 80s, there was a real renaissance in that they realized that one of the things that needed to happen was that we needed to train our workers better. We needed to find a way to make sure there was consistent apprenticeship understanding. So the RCABC spent and all their industry members and support from government and everything else, we built what's called the Roofing Institute, the Roofing Training Center. And that was built and opened in 1994, and that was groundbreaking. They're really. And
where is this?
It's in Langley.
Still there?
Yep.
Okay.
It's at the foot of the Golden Ears Bridge, and the facility is interesting. I mean, there really is. It's unmatched in North America, where the roofing industry itself has really gotten involved in training their workers and bringing apprenticeship to their workers and really managing that. And so. We have a facility that's got a lot of outdoor training aspects to it, but then also the classroom work and working in conjunction with the Industry Training Authority, which is the provincial government body.
Sure, of course, yeah.
So
this would be for ticketed journeyman roofers.
Yeah.
Journey person we have to be.
I see, okay.
But this is what separates a roofing contractor who is an RCABC member, or there's even some non-members that take advantage of the training facilities at the RCABC, but they actually have mock-ups of roofs that are undercover, so that roofing contractors and their workers can be sent to the facility in the wintertime when roofing is slow, the market is slow, and they can actually train and they can install products under dry conditions to teach the workers how to properly do things. And then they can go into the classrooms and they can actually get chalkboard instructions on how to install roof systems and how things work together and how things don't work together.
When you were a young guy back in the day, Sean, when you were getting into the business and you spent 15, 16 years, did you ever go through a program such as is now offered in Langley at the RCA
Yeah, I went through
the
apprenticeship program.
Excellent.
And I'm a Red Seal journeyman roofer.
Okay, how long does the program take, Ivan, from beginning to end to become a fully ticketed roofer in BC?
Yeah, it's you can do the process in terms of time. It typically would be a 3-year minimum process, because you have there's a baseline time in trade that would typically a new worker would be working in the trade just as an assistant, as a helper for a while. Then if he shows enough inclination and ambition, his boss may register him as an apprentice. So then he becomes into the apprenticeship system, and the apprenticeship system has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's the way craft trades have been handed down, where essentially you work with a mentor, and there's a component of sort of schooling, and then there's a component of just working in the field under the mentorship and the observation. So they would take the original the first apprenticeship class is a 4-week module, so they'll come in for 4 weeks, and in that 4 weeks they spend about half the time in the classroom understanding the technical aspects, and then half the time in our demonstration area inside the facility, literally doing all the different things. The roof application is is more and more complex every year. When I went to school, which is longer than I care to admit, you know, there was
you and me both.
but there was really one or two or perhaps three different roofing systems that we had to become familiar with.
Right.
But nowadays, you may be exposed to perhaps 10 or 12.
Which is why these companies, the smart ones, take advantage of the soft months in the wintertime and bring their crews in and upgrade their skills to deal with these new roofing platforms that are being created.
It's one of the reasons that we felt that it was so important to have industry involvement in apprenticeship training, because we wanted to make the apprenticeship training representative and reflective of what was going on in the marketplace. You know, you don't want to be 10 years behind in what's going there, and you're not going to always be able to chase every trend, because some of them are trends. But at the end of the day, you want to have workers that come out of there that really have skills that are marketable for them, that they can use in their life with their employer. But if they choose to go to a different employer, those skills are it's a national standard with the roofing side. The Red Seal ticket is a nationally recognized ticket.
Sure, absolutely.
So you could you can work in any province in Canada. So,
so you have that interprovincial portability.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
One of the things that Sean does with us superbly on this program is help consumers with their roofing issues by giving us good questions to ask. So when it's time and those people start knocking on your door, you get the word out that you want to get some roof renos done, well, then at least you're educated to the point where you're going to ask smart questions. So along that line, Ivan, it seems to me to be an eminently fair ball question to ask anyone who is offering services and work on your roof, whether they've been through the Roofing Contractors Association of British Columbia training program. That's a fair ball question.
It is, and certainly ticketed tradespeople are the key. I mean, at the end of the day, you can have everything in place that you want in order to do it, but the guys that are actually installing the products need to have a baseline level of skill and training in order to do that, and that's multifaceted. It's not exclusively through their apprenticeship training, because we believe that it does have to be ongoing training, and manufacturers get involved to help support that training. They come in and help in our apprenticeship things, where they will demonstrate how the nuances of their particular products might work, but also in an ongoing sense they might bring new products in. And so, we encourage and certainly facilitate that kind of training effort on an ongoing basis to make sure that people are current with the latest and greatest.
It has a benefit too, because as we've said before, you could be roofing for 30 years, but it's the same year over and over.
Right. 1 year, 30 times.
Yeah,
right.
1 year, 30 times. So in this sense, the roofer is learning from the contractor that he's working for, his foreman or his supervisor, and he's learning certain things from them. But then when they go in to do their apprenticeship training, they're getting checked. So anything that they may have mislearned while they're on the roof, say one of the foremen was teaching an apprentice something that may not be the correct way to do it, there's checks and balances in place as he goes through the apprenticeship program to correct those things.
Somebody's going to go, who taught you how to do that?
Well, exactly. And at least
some guy up on a roof somewhere. Well, don't do that anymore.
They'll at least enlighten them as to what they were doing incorrectly or how they could be doing it differently.
Right.
And there's always different roads that lead to the same place. Maybe both roads are correct. Both approaches to a certain detail are correct, but one might have an advantage over another.
Because Ivan's talking about style differences, and in some cases it might just be that.
Yeah,
right?
So that's one of the tremendous benefits that the apprenticeship program and the RCABC training facility can provide, is that no matter what kind of experience you're having out in the real world, when you come through that mill, the RCABC training mill, you're going to be ground up the right way and come out processed.
Geez, how to advertise for it? I mean, sure, people are going to be jumping over to get in that mill and get ground down.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
But just further to the question about people who consumers being informed and educated enough to demand from their potential suppliers basic information like, have you taken the course? Have you got your red seal? Or are you in the process of taking those? You're halfway through or whatever. So at least you're learning and you've shown a commitment. Sean, of all of those people that are going to come knocking on my door once the word gets out that I'm looking for some roof action, how many are likely to have been through the course that Ivan and the RCABC conduct?
Well, it depends on the contractors that you're talking to, right? Some contractors will claim to have many journeymen on staff, when in fact they might have only one or none. I've seen some contractors who claim they're journeymen when in fact they've never made it through the apprenticeship program, but they went in, they failed, or they didn't complete, but they think they're journeymen because they've actually participated in some short way.
Okay.
But really, you want to know, you could even ask to see the person's ticket.
Yes.
Because I carry my ticket with me. I could show it to you right now.
Now, Ivan, you're shaking your head at this. Why are you?
Well, I'm shaking it because I don't have my wallet with me today, so I can't. That's why I'm saying I can't do that today.
Suddenly naked on the radio with no wallet and no journeyman's ticket. But I take your point, Sean.
Yeah, but there, as Ivan can talk about, there are roughly 1,200 different roofing contractors in the Lower Mainland, and 66 of them are RCABC members.
Oh my.
Yeah, so it shows you the concentrated group of high-level roofers that there are that are members of the RCABC.
Well, that certainly opens the door to a whole other series of questions in terms of well, let's just take a break here because, there's a whole other round coming up on people who want to do your roof and how to pick out the right ones. And, of course, our guest, Sean Lang from Interprovincial Roof Consultants, does that for a living. It's precisely what his company does. Also in studio with us is Ivan von Spronson, Executive Director of the Roofing Contractors Association of BC. Lots more still ahead. We're back right after this.
Delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call. And there's more still ahead on AM 650.